You spent last Saturday going through the hall closet. You pulled out old coats, stacked up magazines from 3 years ago, found a bread maker still in the box that you used exactly once, and by the end of the afternoon, you had 4 bags by the front door, ready for the donation center, and you stood back and looked at that closet and breathed. You actually breathed. There was space, there was air, and for a little while you felt lighter. I know that feeling. There is something deeply satisfying about clearing out the physical things that have piled up around us over the years. But here's what I want to ask you today in the gentlest way I know how. When was the last time you cleared out the closet inside your mind? Because most of us, myself included, for far too long, we are walking around carrying invisible weight. Things we cannot see, things we cannot put in a bag and leave by the curb, but things that are heavy, things that are stealing the peace from our days and the joy from our mornings. And today, I want to talk to you about 4 of those things. 4 burdens that I believe, if you can find the courage to put them down, will change the way the rest of your life feels, not in some distant theoretical way. But this week, this morning even, stay with me because this one matters. My name is Pearl. I'm in my mid 70s, and I have lived enough life to know that the heaviest things we carry rarely have any weight at all. I raised 3 children in a house that always seemed to need something fixed. I was married for 41 years to a man named Gerald, who left this world 9 years ago on a Tuesday in November. And I have sat in the quiet that follows a loss like that. I have sat at a kitchen table set for one. I have felt the particular ache of a Sunday afternoon when the phone does not ring. I'm not telling you any of this to earn your sympathy. I'm telling you because I want you to know that I'm sitting right where you are sitting. I have lived the weight I'm about to describe, and I have one small decision at a time begun to put some of it down. Not all of it. I'm still working, but enough to know that what I'm about to share with you is real and it works. I'm going to be honest with you the way an old friend would be honest with you, not the way a book would, not the way a doctor might, but the way someone who loves you and has nothing to gain would sit across from you at the kitchen table and tell you the truth. You may have heard some version of what I'm about to say before. Maybe someone told you to let it go or to stop worrying about what people think. And you nodded politely and thought, yes, that is very nice advice that does not account for my actual life. I understand that. So I'm not going to give you platitudes. I'm going to give you something specific, something you can actually do. Let us talk about how things used to be for just a moment, because I think it helps to understand how we got here. There was a time, many of us lived it, when the shape of a life was clearer. You knew your neighbors. You sat on the porch in the evening. You went to church or temple on Sunday mornings, and afterward there was coffee, and someone always had a cake. Families gathered, elders were consulted, your opinion was sought, your stories were listened to, and your presence at the table meant something. And then, one busy season at a time, one missed holiday, one moved away child, one retirement that nobody quite prepared you for, that world got quieter. It did not happen all at once. It never does. It happens slowly, the way a tide goes out. And one day you look up and the shore looks very different than it did. And here's the quiet lie that crept in during all of that quiet, the lie that whispers, the way to keep the peace, the way to keep people close, the way to matter is to agree, to not make waves, to be easy, to shrink a little, nod a little, hold your tongue a little, and make yourself as small and as convenient as possible. That lie is the first thing I want to help you throw away today. Burden number 1, the need for other people's approval. Oh, this one runs deep for many of us, especially women of a certain generation. Though not only women, we were raised in a world that rewarded agreeableness. Be pleasant, be accommodating, do not make a fuss. And so, over decades, without even realizing it, we build our sense of self worth on a foundation of other people's reactions. Did she seem pleased? Did he approve? Did they think well of me? And here's what happens when you build your peace on that foundation. Your peace is never your own. It belongs to whoever is in the room. If your daughter is happy with your choices, you feel fine. If your neighbor makes an offhand comment about your garden, your whole afternoon is ruined. You are handing out the keys to your inner life to anyone who walks by. I remember a period after Gerald passed when I was desperately worried about what people thought of my grief. Was I mourning the right way? Was I moving on too fast or not fast enough? I turned down invitations because I was not sure if it was appropriate to go. I accepted others I did not want to attend because I did not want to seem rude. I was so busy managing everyone else's perception of my widowhood that I barely had time to actually live through it. And one day, a friend, a plain spoken woman named Ruth, God bless her, sat down across from me and said, Pearl, whose life is this? Just that. Whose life is this? I want to ask you the same question today because the opinions of other people, your adult children, your neighbors, your old colleagues, strangers on the internet, they are not paying your electricity bill. They are not lying awake with you at 2 in the morning. They are not the ones who have to live inside your one singular, irreplaceable life. Shedding the need for approval does not mean becoming careless or unkind. It means that before you change a decision because of what someone might think, you pause and ask, do I actually agree with them, or am I just afraid of displeasing them? Those are two very different things. This week, I want you to try one small practice. The next time you catch yourself about to say yes to something you want to say no to, just for the sake of keeping someone comfortable, try saying this instead. Let me think about that and get back to you. That is all. 7 words. It buys you time, it buys you space to ask yourself what you actually want, and it is the beginning of living from the inside out instead of the outside in. You do not need their approval to be worthy. You never did. You just forgot for a while. Burden. Number 2, toxic relationships and the weight of negative energy. Now, I want to be careful here because I'm not asking you to abandon anyone who is struggling. We are not talking about people who are going through hard times. We are talking about something different. We are talking about the people in your life, and you know exactly who they are, who consistently leave you feeling worse than when you found them. You hang up the phone and you feel heavy. You leave a family dinner and your shoulders are up around your ears. You see their name on your screen and something in your stomach tightens before you even answer. Here is an image I want you to hold. You have seen a stagnant pond. Yes, the kind with green film on the surface, the kind that does not move, that collects things, dead leaves, algae, whatever floats in and has nowhere to go. Nothing healthy lives in stagnant water for long. Negative energy works the same way. When you allow consistently draining, critical, or toxic energy to pool around you, it does not stay contained to just those interactions. It seeps. It colors how you see yourself. It affects what you believe is possible for you. It makes you smaller. And here's the scientific truth wrapped inside the folk wisdom. We become like what we are around. If the people closest to you are negative about aging, about life, about other people, about the future, that negativity will find its way into your own thinking. It is not weakness, it is simply how human beings are wired. We absorb what surrounds us. Now, some of these people are family, and I know that makes this complicated. I'm not suggesting you cut your sister out of your life because she is grumpy. But there is a difference between enduring someone's difficult mood and allowing someone to consistently diminish you. And you have the right, I want to say this clearly, you have the right to limit the time you spend in the company of people who make you feel small. Here's what I want you to try. Think of one relationship in your life right now that consistently drains you, just one. And this week, I want you to reduce the time you spend in that particular energy by half. Not cut it off, not have a confrontation, just half. One fewer phone call, one shorter visit. And in that reclaim time, reach towards someone who makes you feel warm, someone who makes you laugh, someone who says good for you and means it. You are not a drain. You do not have to surround yourself with drains. You deserve to be around people who feel like sunlight. Burden, number 3, the fear of death. I'm going to say something that might feel startling, so I want you to stay with me. The fear of death is not the problem. The problem is that the fear of death is stealing your life. I have noticed in myself, in my friends, in the letters and comments so many of you send me, that for many people our age, there is a shadow that follows us. We do not always name it, but it is there in the hesitation to make plans too far ahead. It is there in the way we sometimes look at a beautiful evening and feel a strange grief underneath the beauty. It is there in the middle of the night when the house is quiet and the mind is not. We are afraid, and that fear is understandable. It is human. There is nothing shameful about it. But here's what I have come to believe from 60 plus years of watching how people live and how they end. The people who spend their remaining years in fear of death do not get more life, they get less, because fear shrinks the present. It pulls your attention out of this warm, real, sensory moment and puts it on a future that has not arrived. And in doing that, it robs you of the very thing you're afraid to lose. There's a phrase I keep on a small card on my kitchen windowsill. I look at it while I wash the dishes. It says, make your days count, not count your days. Think about that for a moment. Counting days is keeping score of what you might be losing. Making days count is deciding what this one day today is going to contain that is worth something. I'm not asking you to pretend. I'm not asking you to perform cheerfulness you do not feel or to avoid the very real and important conversations that need to happen about wishes, about plans, about what you want your people to know. Those conversations are not morbid. They are actually an act of love, and they can lift a great deal of weight when you have them. But after those conversations are had, after those arrangements are made, after the practical things are tended to, then you can release the shadow because you have done what you can do, and the rest belongs to something larger than yourself. The present moment, this one right here, is not practice. It is not the waiting room. It is the thing itself. What would today look like if you lived it as if it genuinely mattered? Not as if it were borrowed time, but as if it were precious time, which it is. What would you do this afternoon? Who would you call? What meal would you make with actual care? What would you say to someone you love? Do not wait for a diagnosis or a near miss to give yourself permission to live fully right now. The permission is already yours. It has always been yours. Burden number 4, stagnation. Now, this last one sneaks up on us, and it sneaks up slowly, which is part of what makes it so dangerous. Stagnation is what happens when we stop moving, not just physically, though, that is part of it, but mentally, emotionally, relationally, when we stop learning new things, when every day begins to look exactly like the one before it, when the world feels like it is happening to us rather than something we are still participating in. Let me go back to that image of the pond. A stagnant pond and a flowing river are both water. But what lives in them is very different. The river has movement, it has oxygen, it has the capacity to carry things, to clean itself, to sustain life. A stagnant pond without movement slowly fills with what cannot escape. Our minds and our bodies work this way too. I know this firsthand because after Gerald died, I went through a period of, I would not call it depression exactly, though maybe it was, I would call it stopping. I stopped going to my Tuesday morning book group. I stopped taking my walks. I ate the same simple meals. I watched the same programs. And I thought I was resting, but I was actually stagnating. I was becoming the pond. It was my granddaughter Ellie who pulled me out of it, not with a grand gesture, but by calling one afternoon and asking if I wanted to try a new tea shop that had just opened 3 blocks from my house, a tea shop that is all it took to start moving again. We went on a Thursday. I had a lavender scone and a pot of something called morning dew, and it was lovely. And I walked home a slightly different person than I had walked there. Movement does not have to be dramatic. It does not have to be a bucket list or a plane ticket or a new language, though if any of those things call to you, please say yes. Movement can be a new podcast on a topic you know nothing about. It can be rearranging one room in your house. It can be planting something, tomatoes, herbs, a single flower in a pot on the windowsill. It can be calling someone you have not spoken to in 2 years. It can be 10 minutes of gentle stretching each morning before you do anything else. The physical dimension of this matters deeply, and I do not want to skip past it. Our bodies were not made to be still. Even when movement is harder than it once was, even when knees ache and energy is not what it was, gentle, consistent movement is one of the most powerful medicines available to us. A 20-minute walk 3 times a week, gentle yoga with a video in your living room, swimming if you have access, dancing in your kitchen while something good is on the radio. Yes, that counts. When you move your body, you tell it that it is still in the game, and your mind follows. But mental movement matters just as much. Read something that challenges you, have a conversation that goes somewhere you did not expect. Take a class at the library or the community center. Learn to use one new thing on your phone or computer each month. Write something, even if it is just a letter you never send. Curiosity is the enemy of stagnation, and it is also, I believe, one of the great secrets of a long and vital life. I have a friend, Margaret, who is 82. She took up watercolor painting at 79. She is not particularly gifted by her own cheerful admission. But she goes to her little class on Wednesday mornings and she comes home smiling every single time. She is not becoming an artist, she is becoming more herself. That is what movement does. Do not wait until you feel motivated to start moving. Start moving, and the motivation will follow. That is the order it actually works. So let us bring all of this together because I want to leave you with something you can hold. Imagine you are carrying a bag, not a small bag, a big one, the kind you would take on a long journey. And in it, you have been placing things for years. Every time someone's approval felt essential to your peace, you put it in the bag. Every draining relationship you kept at full volume, you put it in the bag. Every night you spent in fear of an ending rather than in gratitude for what still remains in the bag. Every day you chose the familiar couch over a gentle walk or a new thought that went in the bag, too. No wonder you are tired. You have been carrying this for decades. I'm not asking you to throw everything away today. I'm asking you to reach into that bag right now, this morning, and take out one thing, just one. Maybe it is the voice in your head that worries what the neighbors might think. Maybe it is the Tuesday phone call that always leaves you feeling hollow. Maybe it is the way you have been tiptoeing around your own remaining years as if they were something to get through rather than something to live. Take out one thing, set it down, and notice how that feels. You have lived long enough and loved deeply enough and weathered enough seasons to deserve the rest of this life lived lightly. Not carelessly, lightly, with space, with air, with the kind of peace that does not depend on the weather or the news or whether anyone calls. You still matter. Your days still matter. The way you spend this afternoon matters. Now, before I let you go this morning, I want to ask you something, and I genuinely want you to answer down in the comments because your words matter to me and to everyone who watches here. What is one thing you have been carrying too long that you are ready to set down? It does not have to be solved, just named. Just say it out loud or type it out and watch how the act of naming it changes something. And tell me this too, what is one small way you have kept yourself moving physically or mentally that has made a difference? Because your wisdom belongs in this conversation. There are thousands of people watching who need to hear exactly what you have learned. If today's conversation touched something in you, I want you to share it with one person this week. Not because this channel needs the views, but because somewhere in your life there is someone carrying the same bag and they need someone to sit down beside them and say, you can put some of this down now. And tomorrow morning, I want to come back and talk with you about something that I think you will find just as important: the quiet power of solitude, how to tell the difference between loneliness and being beautifully alone, and how to use the still hours in a way that genuinely fills you rather than empties you. That conversation is coming, and I think it might surprise you. Until then, I want you to do one thing for me: set down one piece of the bag, just one, and take a breath in the space it leaves. Take care of your heart, sweet friend. I will see you in the morning.